Childhood crush that rejected me suddenly declares he wants to be with me just as I was about to propose to his younger brother. I am Victoria, 26 years old, and my childhood friend, Aiden, is also 26. We are both from Las Vegas, Nevada. We grew up knowing each other since we were children, and our families eventually became close-knit, celebrating our birthdays, Christmas, and New Year's together. For as long as I can remember, I've always been in love with Aiden. He knew it, as did our families. Our parents always joked and made references that one day we could get married and unite our families even more. When we were 15 years old, I confessed my love to Aiden, but he rejected me. He said he didn't want it to affect our great friendship and that perhaps in the future, we could try something. Heartbroken, I accepted it. When we were 18 years old, about to enter college in Pasadena, I confessed my love to Aiden again, but he said no. He wanted to live life. He said he was going to college in Los Angeles, which surprised me since we were both supposed to have sent our applications to the University of Pasadena. Pasadena is in California, just like Los Angeles, but I was shocked by what Aiden told me. I didn't think he had those thoughts. He went on to tell me that one of his friends, with whom he was also going to Los Angeles, told him to live his life, saying that university education was the best way to grow up as a person. This way, he could experience everything. And when he entered marriage, he would do so without any regrets. He encouraged me to do the same and said that when we met again, we would be ready to start something. I didn't say anything in response. I just nodded since I understood that Aiden didn't view relationships and commitment the same way I did. This is how I started my university life with a broken heart. From time to time, I would look at Aiden's social networks and see how he posted pictures of the parties he attended at the university with other boys and girls. This made me feel sad, and it started to affect my academic performance. When I realized this, I decided to leave Aiden behind and focus on myself and my studies. I spent a year focusing on improving in college and started exercising as I wasn't in good shape. One day, while running around the university, I saw a young man who looked familiar. It was Aiden's younger brother, Henry. I was surprised and went to greet him. He was also surprised and blushed, which I thought was very sweet. I asked him what he was doing at this university and joked, "You didn't come here just to meet me, did you?" That made him blush even more, and we both laughed. I remembered that when we were younger, Henry and I barely talked since I only had eyes for Aiden. Whenever Henry was alone with me, he would always find an excuse to leave. I asked Henry if he wanted me to show him the campus. A little nervous, he said yes. That's how our university years went by, and I got to know Henry better. I was surprised to see how much we had in common, and over time, I realized I liked him. I loved the way he looked at me and convinced him to exercise with me. Unlike Aiden, Henry had always been on the lighter side, and I was amazed by the incredible transformation he underwent. 2 years later, we decided to start dating because I had fallen in love with him, and he confessed that he had always had feelings for me. However, he knew I only had eyes for Aiden and didn't want to interfere with my love for his brother. Knowing that Henry was that kind of man made me love him even more. By the time I graduated, I decided to stay in Pasadena, look for a job, and find an apartment while waiting for Henry to finish his final year of college. During the years we were in college, Henry and I would come home in the summer and spend time together, but Aiden never came back. He said he was too focused on his studies. Henry and I decided not to tell our parents about our relationship since we knew they might meddle a bit. We planned to tell them later. By the time Henry graduated, I already had a job where I could work happily. Since Henry had studied the same as I did, he could join the same company as me, but in another department. In case you're wondering, we both studied systems engineering. 2 years passed in which Henry and I focused on our relationship and our work. I had prepared a surprise for Henry. I wanted to propose to him in front of our families. So I took 2 days off work to go to my parents' house where both our families would gather for the weekend. I wanted to give him the surprise then. On Thursday, I mentioned to Henry that I had to go to my parents' house for something not very important and told him he could join me on Saturday. He looked a little confused but said he was fine with it. When I arrived at my parents' house, they greeted me warmly and so did my sisters. My mother then said, "See who's here." When I turned to the living room, I saw Aiden. He got up quickly to greet me and tried to kiss me on the cheek, but I pulled away. He looked confused, and my mother told me, "Daughter, get ready because in the evening, we'll all get together for dinner." I knew that meant my family and Aiden's family were going to meet for dinner. I thought it was fantastic since with everyone there, it would be easier to share my surprise with them and Henry. I spent the rest of the day talking with Aiden and was surprised by everything he said, how much fun he had at parties, and how he had hooked up with a lot of girls. He talked about it as if it had been a great experience and even said, "I hope you had a good time too," while winking at me. I couldn't believe everything he was saying. I just replied that I had a great time as well. That night, I told my parents I wanted to talk to them about something very important. They said, "Yes. We think we know what it is," and laughed. I thought Henry must have told them about our relationship. When we were at dinner with Aiden's parents on one side and mine on the other, I tried to get everyone's attention. I wanted to say something important, and Aiden's mother and mine turned to look at me and smiled, which made me a bit nervous. But before I could say anything, Aiden spoke up and said, "Don't worry, Victoria. I'll say it." He then turned to look at me and said, "Victoria, yes. I accept to be your boyfriend." When I heard that, I couldn't help but be speechless and,